I'm 34 and married to my husband, Mark, who's 38. We've been together almost a decade, and while things haven't always been perfect, I thought we had the kind of love that bends, not breaks. He's in sales, travels a lot for work, and I've always trusted him to be where he says he is. That trust was absolute, until 3 weeks ago. He'd been away on a conference in Dallas, something routine. He even FaceTimed me from the hotel one night to show off his room. I didn't think much of it. But then came the call that started unraveling everything. It was a Tuesday morning. I was sipping coffee when my phone rang, unknown number. I almost ignored it but picked up on the third ring. The woman on the other end was calm, clinical. She said she was calling from a hospital in Chicago. Not Dallas. My heart skipped. I thought maybe it was a mistake. But then she said his full name and told me he'd been in a minor car accident. He was stable, nothing too serious, just needed observation for a concussion. I asked her again, sure I'd misheard. Chicago? She confirmed it. That's when everything inside me dropped. I didn't tell her right away that he wasn't supposed to be in Chicago. I just thanked her, hung up, and stared at my wall in silence for a long time. I had no idea what to think. I mean, who lies about where they are for a business trip? Unless they have a reason to lie. That night, I called him. He picked up after 2 rings and sounded groggy. I asked him how Dallas was. He mumbled something about meetings and then told me he was tired. I didn't confront him, not yet. I just listened, said I loved him, and hung up. But that was the moment everything changed. The second I hung up, I sat in the dark with my phone still in my hand. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just froze. My brain went into overdrive. If he lied about where he was, what else had he lied about? I started with small things. Our shared calendar, he'd logged the Dallas trip like usual. His work email, I didn't have access, but I remembered once when he asked me to check it for him, and the password had autofilled on my laptop. I held my breath and tried it. It worked. And that's when I saw the first crack. There were no emails about Dallas, no hotel confirmations, no conference details. Nothing. But there was a flight confirmation, Chicago, 2 days before he left. It wasn't even under his business email. It was from a personal Gmail I didn't recognize. I clicked through, heart pounding. There were hotel bookings under his name, restaurant reservations, even a spa appointment for 2. And then came the real gut punch. I found a calendar invite titled Weekend Escape Blue Heart. No names, just a location and a time, Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Chicago. The same weekend he was supposedly holed up in meetings. I couldn't stop staring at the heart emoji. It felt like I was watching my life break apart in slow motion. My husband hadn't just lied about a trip. He'd taken someone to a spa, made dinner reservations, planned a getaway. I didn't want to believe it, but all the signs were there. And the worst part? He still didn't know I knew. So I made a plan. I told him I had a work thing that weekend and wouldn't be home. Said I'd be staying with a colleague. He didn't ask many questions, just told me to be safe. That stung more than I expected. Because while he thought I'd be out of town, I was going to do something I never thought I'd do in my life. I booked a ticket to Chicago. The moment I landed in Chicago, it didn't feel real. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, proof, closure? Maybe just a reason to hate him enough to let go. I didn't even bring a suitcase, just a backpack, my phone, and a notebook with every detail I'd found online. I went straight to the hotel he'd booked, the one with the spa reservation for 2. I'd called ahead, pretending to be his assistant, and confirmed he was still checked in. They even let slip that he'd just gone out for a walk with Ms. Avery. Ms. Avery. Not me. Not his wife. A name I'd never heard before. I hung up and stood there in the hotel lobby for a full 5 minutes, trying not to fall apart. I didn't want to run into him yet. I needed time to prepare, to think. So I booked a room at a hotel across the street and watched from my window. It didn't take long. Around sunset, I saw them return. He had his arm around her. She was laughing. He looked relaxed. Happy. Not a care in the world. That's when I started shaking. She was maybe in her late 20s, stylish, and completely unaware that she was walking hand in hand with someone else's husband. Or maybe she did know. Either way, I couldn't take my eyes off them. They disappeared inside. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I stayed up watching the lights in his room across the street. I wrote down everything I saw, when they left, when they came back, how long they were gone. I knew I was spiraling, but I needed this. I needed to see it with my own eyes before I did what came next. Because I wasn't just going to expose him. I was going to ruin his perfect little second life. The next night, they went out again. I followed. Not like a movie spy, all subtle and smooth, I was a mess. Hoodie pulled low, heart racing, hands cold with nerves. I watched them walk into a trendy rooftop restaurant I'd seen on the hotel website. I waited 10 minutes, then went up and asked for a table, under a fake name, of course. My table was just 2 rows behind theirs. And I saw everything. The way he touched her hand across the table. The way he leaned in when she talked, smiling like she was his whole world. They ordered cocktails, shared a dessert. She laughed at things I'd heard him say to me 100 times. It was like watching a rerun of my own relationship, but I was the one cut from the script. Then he pulled something out of his jacket. At first, I thought it was a gift, maybe a necklace. But no. It was a ring. A damn ring. I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw her expression change. She gasped, touched her chest, then threw her arms around him. He kissed her like nothing else mattered. That's when it hit me. He wasn't just cheating. He was starting a whole new life. A life with someone who thought she was the only one. And suddenly, all my pain turned into clarity. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to burn it all down, carefully, cleanly, with every ounce of evidence I had. Because now, I had a picture of him proposing to another woman. And I knew exactly what to do next. When I got back to my hotel room, I was vibrating with adrenaline. I couldn't cry. I couldn't sit still. I just paced the room, going over everything in my head. The lies, the flights, the ring, the second life he thought he was building on top of mine. I didn't want revenge in the petty, screaming match kind of way. I wanted something sharper, something permanent. So I opened my laptop, pulled up my email, and started typing. I didn't put a subject line. I didn't even write much, just attached 3 things: the hotel receipt from his stay in Chicago. The screenshot of the restaurant reservation for 2. And finally, the photo I took of him on one knee, sliding a ring onto another woman's finger. Then I typed, I hope she says yes. I mean, the first one did. And I sent it. To his work email. To his boss. To HR. To his parents. To my parents. And just for good measure, to Ms. Avery herself. It was impulsive. Maybe even reckless. But in that moment, it felt like the only honest thing I'd done in weeks. I turned off my laptop, lay back on the hotel bed, and waited. It took less than 30 minutes for the world to explode. My phone started buzzing nonstop. I didn't check it right away. I just stared at it vibrating on the nightstand like it was about to combust. Then the emails started coming in. One from his boss, call me. Now. Another from his mother, is this real? Please tell me this is a joke. And from his HR department, we need to speak regarding recent developments. But I didn't care about any of that. The one that mattered was from her. Ms. Avery. She replied to the email. At first, it was just confusion. What do you mean the first one? Then, a second email came an hour later. Are you his wife? And then finally, I had no idea. I swear. I'm so sorry. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then came a twist I never expected. Apparently, she had asked him if he was married. He told her he had been married, past tense. Said we split amicably a year ago, no drama. That I'd moved away for a job. He even showed her a fake set of divorce papers. He'd planned everything down to the lie. That's when I knew this wasn't just about cheating or lying. This was about manipulation. Deception. He was building 2 separate lives with 2 separate women, and he was smart enough to keep the stories straight. But not smart enough to cover his tracks completely. Because now, both lives were collapsing. And the best part? I wasn't going to lift a finger to save either of them. I checked out of the hotel the next morning. I thought I was done. Thought I could disappear back home, start sorting through lawyers and bank accounts, maybe even change the locks before he got there. But fate had one more surprise lined up for me. He was waiting at the airport. I spotted him before he saw me, disheveled, pacing, eyes red like he hadn't slept. He looked nothing like the man proposing with a smile just days earlier. I should have turned around, walked away, avoided the scene. But I didn't. He saw me and sprinted over, grabbing my arm like we were some dramatic movie couple. I didn't say a word, just looked him dead in the eyes, waiting to hear what kind of story he was about to tell. And oh, he tried. Said it was a misunderstanding. That he'd been trying to leave me but didn't know how. That Avery didn't know about me, that I'd blindsided him by blowing everything up so publicly. He called it immature, said I ruined his career. And then he said the most insulting thing of all. He told me he was going to tell me that the proposal was fake, just part of a scheme to ease out of both relationships without hurting anyone. Like that made him noble. I laughed in his face. Not because it was funny, but because this man genuinely believed his lies were strategic. Like a chess game, where he was some grandmaster of emotional betrayal. Meanwhile, I'd been the pawn the whole time. I told him one thing: you had a choice. You made it. And now you live with it. Then I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there in the middle of Terminal 2, shouting my name while people stared. And just like that, I was free. Or so I thought. I got home expecting silence, maybe a mess of emails, voicemails, burned bridges. I was prepared for chaos. But what I wasn't prepared for was what I found tucked away in the back of our filing cabinet. I was looking for our marriage certificate, something I'd need for the divorce attorney. I'd never paid much attention to the cabinet before. Mark handled all our paperwork. But something told me to dig deeper. Call it paranoia, or instinct. Behind the folders labeled taxes and warranty, I found a sealed manila envelope with my name scribbled on the front in pencil. Inside were 2 documents. The first? A second marriage license. Dated 6 months ago. His name. Her name. Different state. Different address. A marriage license he had filed, never finalized, but still legally initiated, with Ms. Avery. As if he was planning to marry her even before he ever left for Chicago. The second document was worse. A signed power of attorney. He had forged my signature. It granted him access to all of our shared financial assets, and, if I hadn't found it, he could have drained every account we had without me even knowing. And based on the timestamps of when this document was created, it had been sitting there for over a year. That's when everything inside me shifted. He didn't just cheat on me. He planned to erase me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a heist. And I was supposed to be the fool left in the dark while he walked away with my trust, my money, my life. But not anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My brain was racing with possibilities, legal angles, financial risks. I emailed a lawyer first thing in the morning. Not just a divorce attorney, someone who specialized in fraud and identity theft. Because that's what this was now. I brought the forged documents to the meeting, along with copies of every lie I'd uncovered, the hotel receipts, the second marriage license, even a screenshot of the fake divorce papers he showed Ms. Avery. My lawyer stared at the stack for a long time before saying one sentence that made my stomach drop. He's done this before, hasn't he? I didn't want to believe it. But now that she said it, I couldn't stop thinking about how easily he moved between lies, how calm he was under pressure. The fake emails, the second phone I found once and brushed off, the receipts that never added up. Mark wasn't just a liar. He was a serial manipulator. My lawyer told me to keep quiet. Don't confront him again. Don't send any more emails. Let him believe he still had control, because that would make the next part easier. Then she connected me with a private investigator. By the end of the day, we had frozen the joint accounts. I set up alerts on all my credit activity. I had my mail rerouted to a P.O. box. My entire life became a fortress. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted protection. But there was one more piece of the puzzle I needed. If Mark had done this before, there'd be someone else. Another woman. Another life. Maybe even another legal identity. And I was going to find her. It took the investigator 6 days. 6 days of digging, databases, surveillance, and tracing digital footprints that I never knew existed. And on the 7th day, I got a call. They'd found her. Her name was Camille. She lived 2 states away. Early 40s. Divorced. Or, so she thought. Turns out, she'd also been married to Mark. Legally. It wasn't a long marriage, just under 2 years, but enough for him to gain access to her finances. Her story sounded painfully familiar. He traveled a lot for work, said he had business overseas. He always handled the money. Was charming, thoughtful, affectionate, until the lies started to unravel. When she confronted him, he disappeared. She thought he'd just left her. Filed for abandonment. Thought she was the only one. Until now. I called her. Told her my name. Told her everything. The silence on the other end of the line nearly broke me. But then she whispered, I knew it wasn't just me. And we cried. Together. Now, with her testimony, with the documents, with the digital trail, my lawyer is pressing charges, not just for fraud and identity theft, but for bigamy. Mark's little web of lies has become a legal disaster. He's facing charges in 2 states. His career is ruined. His second wife has cut all contact. His parents, furious after learning the truth, are refusing to bail him out again. And me? I'm free. I changed my locks, cancelled every joint account, sold the ring. donated the last of his clothes to charity and dropped the box off myself, smiling the whole way. My divorce is almost finalized, and with the legal action underway, I'll recover most of what he tried to steal. I still have moments where I wonder how I didn't see it sooner. But then I remember, con men don't look like monsters. They look like husbands, business partners, best friends. But the thing about living a double life? Eventually, one side always crashes. And I made sure I was the one still standing when it did. So if you're reading this and something feels off in your own relationship, trust your gut. Because sometimes, the business trip isn't business. Sometimes, it's the beginning of the end. And sometimes, the end is exactly what you needed to begin again.